welcome. We are excited to be here today. Listen, we have an exclusive panel here with us today, as you can see, here at Concord Church, also with Jack and Jill, South Central Region. Today, we're going to talk about what's going on in our world today. All right? That's what we're going to talk about. We want you to engage. We want you to create this conversation. And we want to make sure that you're able to have this conversation just with your peers. All right? What you got, Jade?
All right, so check this out, you guys. There are a lot of teenagers out there that I would guess have bottled up feelings and emotions about what's going on in our society today. So we have brought in a group of teenagers to share their feelings because, unfortunately, the media and some of our country's leaders have painted out our teenagers to be a bunch of folks that are just out looting, tearing up the cities, not doing peaceful protests. So we want to address all those different topics and allow you to speak freely on how you feel, okay? So before we get started, let's meet everybody. Yeah. And I guess let's start in the back, and then we'll move up to the front, yeah.
Hi, I'm Kennedy McKindle, and I will be attending the illustrious Spelman College this fall.
Hi, I'm Joseph Cosby from the Southwest Suburban Dallas chapter. I'm a rising senior at Dallas Academy in Lake Highlands, and I'm honored to be here.
Hi, my name is Kayla Seals. I'm a part of the Northeast Dallas chapter, and I will be attending North Carolina A&T State University this upcoming fall.
I'm Joshua Waters. I'm a part of the Dallas chapter, and I will be a freshman at Howard University this fall.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Carter, and I plan on attending Spelman College in the fall.
Hi, I'm Julian Larry. I plan on attending TCC and then transferring out to Prairie View.
I am Sasha Secursback Wilson. I am from the notorious North Texas chapter, and I'm a rising senior at Frisco High School.
Hi, my name is Lauren. I am in part of the North Suburban chapter, and I will be attending SMU.
Hi, my name is Simone Lester. I am a part of the Far North Dallas chapter, and I will be attending Howard University in the fall.
Hello, everybody. I'm Cortland. I'm part of the Northeast Dallas chapter. In 2020 fall, I'll be attending Morehouse College.
Shouts out to all these college ready. Ooh, I love it. Yeah, HBCUs in the building. I love that.
I love it. All right, so, now that we've met everybody, let's just get into the conversation, all right? So our first question, just as we're aware of what happened to George Floyd, aware of the times, how are you feeling about all this going on? How are you feeling? We can start anywhere.
Well, one thing I'm feeling is that it's a very trying time. You get to learn who's with you, who's against you, and at this time, there's really no in between. Silence is violence, so you learn that your friends are with you or against you. And I have some friends in high school who thought were gonna have my back, but they're pretty much silent now. They haven't posted anything, haven't attended any protest, haven't said anything. And there's some friends who are like, I kept in the back and I didn't really talk to that much. So, and they're the ones who are mainly out there protesting, posting that this is wrong, this is violence. And you just learn who's with you and against you.
Yeah, going with what Cortland said, I think this is an interesting time to see the people who come out of the woodworks just to support you or the opposite. So that's really interesting to see.
I would agree with that. Martin Luther King said that the white martyr is the most dangerous person in America because of the fact that without them, they are the majority. And if you're not with us, then you're definitely against us, because if you don't fight for us, then the only thing that'll be upheld is the status quo.
So let's talk about that, because you brought up an interesting point of discovering that the people you thought would have your back, maybe friends of different ethnicities, people that you thought would, probably speak up on the topic because they're friends of yours, right? Because we assume if you have black friends, then there's not a racist bone in your body per se, right? How does it make you feel when you have friends that are silent during times like this? Like, what is that emotion that goes through you? Because I'm sure it has to be hurtful.
I think it's frustrating that they try to ignore it and that they try to move on like it's not happening. As a friend, I expect someone who cares about me to also value my life and value people who look like me.
Yeah, kind of piggybacking off what you said, there's all my friends who share a love with black culture, black hip-hop, black shoes, black media, and they love all of it, but they don't want to open their mouth for black oppression.
Ooh.
Which really just, I feel backstabbed. I feel hate, depression, despair, and everything in between.
I'm also disappointed in the people who can go out and post selfies, are quick to post a party flyer, but won't promote peace or support their friends. So I think that's disappointing as well, that you're still on social media, but just ignoring everything else that is happening that doesn't involve you, or you think that doesn't involve you, but the people around you.
But I also, well, just personally, majority of my friends are black, and a lot of my friends, I do have some friends that have like posted about everything that's happening. There was a march in Frisco, a protest that I attended, and I did have a lot of my classmates that were there. But then I also have some of my friends who are black who haven't said anything, and I don't know why they haven't said anything, but it really hurts me just because I'm the president of the Black Student Union Club at my school, and those friends are also members of the club. And when we're in the club, they all have their opinions, and they all are all pro-black and rah, rah, rah. But then when it really comes time to it, to getting out there and being active, it's kind of like they just sit back and don't do anything.
I like what Cortland said. He said that silence is violence, right? And I think that piggybacking off Sasha, is there a way that you can be silent but still be doing work? Like, is there a way that because you view it that since they weren't in person, or you didn't see them or you hadn't seen them post anything, that does not necessarily mean they're not doing anything. How do you, what would make you feel, let's just speak to somebody that feels like they haven't spoken up, they haven't said anything, they haven't been at a protest. What do you say to the person that may not feel like they need to, may not feel comfortable protesting or may not feel comfortable posting, but they're just as passionate about black and oppressing our issues that we're facing? Yeah.
Because I was that person at first, just because I've been taking a break from social media for a while now, just because I felt like it was a toxic place in general. And then all of this happened, and I still haven't been posting on social media, but I knew that I needed to do something. And when I saw the flyer about the protest in Frisco, since I couldn't attend the one that was in Dallas, I was like, I need to be there. I feel like I have to be there because it's my duty as a citizen and as a black citizen and a young woman in America to stand up when there's injustice for our brothers and sisters.
So I'd say, just to kind of play devil's advocate here, a lot of people are still processing what's going on. So I don't think that we need to necessarily attack everyone who hasn't quite posted or hasn't quite put themselves out there yet, because there's a lot going on, and there's a lot to process.
That's fair. That's super fair.
I would agree, because I myself had to take 2 days off my phone. I just completely turned it off to process, to mourn. Like, people take time to really understand what's going on, and they have questions that they need to ask or might be scared to ask. But you can always sign petitions, donate. And of course, the people I've reached out to personally be like, everything that's going on. And they're like, yeah, I've signed petitions, even if they've been silent on social media or haven't posted, I stand in solidarity or support. So I think there's always ways to help, even if you're not speaking out.
And just one more thing to kind of piggyback on that. It also helps when some of your non-black friends, they might not be posting or outwardly, protesting like some of us are doing, but just to reach out to me personally and just say, I just wanted to let you know that I am with you and I support you, and I'm so sorry that this is happening to you. And even if this person doesn't necessarily, post all on their Instagram or on their Snapchat stories, I still feel like that's them trying to do their part to make sure that we feel supported.
I'm going to tell you what's important about what you guys are doing, because not only are you guys expressing your feelings on today, you're educating a lot of people. It's almost like when someone experiences a death in the family, sometimes you don't know what to say. And I love that you are letting those of your friends or acquaintances or maybe people that don't even know you, you are allowing them to understand what we need, what society needs right now is that togetherness. And just sometimes just to say, I don't understand, and it's okay if you don't understand, but I'm with you and I stand with you. So I love the fact that you guys are bringing that up. Let's talk about, I heard the word process. So you're on social media, and by a show of hands, how many of you all actually saw the video of George Floyd losing his life? Everybody. I'm an adult. That's a hard pill to swallow. I mean, literally seeing the life of a human being being ripped from it. You get what I'm saying? You're watching this process. So as a teenager, how are you processing this? You're watching this video. What were your thoughts? What are your feelings after you see it? And how have your feelings changed or progressed over the last week or so? Because not only did you see this video, now you're seeing protesting. Now you're seeing our country's leaders speak up and maybe say some things that you don't agree with. Then you're seeing maybe other police chiefs that have your back. So there has to be an array of emotions. How are you guys processing this, and what do you feel right now?
I think when looking at the video, what I saw was kind of the symbolism of historically how black men have been treated, and looking at that police officer, even after he was unconscious, still on his neck and still trying to feel his pulse while he was still on his neck, made me realize that this was a way bigger problem than racism, because I feel like as people, we of course know so many lives have been lost, but why are we all of a sudden now just deciding on social media to advocate for this? And I feel like often because black lives have been devalued, it takes proof for people to finally go behind the cause. So it takes a 8-minute and 40-second video of a man dying for people to finally realize, well, oh, black people are dying. And I think it also shows how our society has been created off of this basis of devaluing black people. And so when looking at how that man how he was stepping on his neck, that honestly was a modern day lynching, if we think about it. And I think that that is just such a big symbolism of what did happen and how generations in history repeats itself, but racism doesn't change. It just evolves as we continue on in life.
So I just have a couple things. So what you, just to address your question of how I'm processing, like Kayla said, I sometimes just have to turn off my phone. Literally at a certain time, it's just so much information, so much going on in social media, so much to see, so much to take in. So what helps me to process is just turning off my phone and just taking a break. And another thing about what Lauren was saying about racism and how this has really woken up the country to see that this is still happening. I just think about Will Smith's quote that racism is not getting worse, it's being recorded. So these things are things that have been happening for hundreds of years in America, and now we're just finally seeing it.
The thing that really gets under my skin about this is that, see, what happened last Monday, not only were they on his neck, there were 2 other officers that were on his legs. So we're talking 800 pounds on an innocent black man. And they all had their hands in their pockets like they were just hanging out. And one who was acting like there was nothing going on. And this has been going on for 400 years, since 1619 when slavery started. So that's what really gets under my skin.
Yeah, kind of piggyback what Joseph said. The thing that really gets my blood boiling is just seeing how another minority of an officer can just sit there while watching another minority be killed. That just, it really hurts. And you can just see how the social hierarchy just, it encourages racism whenever you see police like this, how they can get off scot-free. Being labeled a cop is a shield at this point, because you can be able to get off scot-free for a certain period of time while committing a murder. And he was charged with 3rd degree, even though, I want to say it's positive, 2nd degree, 1st degree, but you can just see all the systemic racism in our country when you see that.
I like what he said. In the moment when I saw it, and I did not want to see it. I'm one of those people, I don't like seeing those videos that just constantly show death. But the thing that really made my blood boil was the ego that this man had.
With his hands in his pocket.
With his hand in his pocket, looking, and it was almost, yes, it's systematic racism, but it's also systematic injustice in the thought that I'm in authority and you're not. And he was telling these people basically, while they're recording him, keep recording, and this is what's gonna happen. Like, to an extent, right? And that is what I think is even more polarizing, is the fact that not only was this a black man, but this was a person that didn't even care that this was a human being, right? And that's what really just took me over the edge, and processing for me, being a young African-American male, although I'm not in high school still, I'm still, I mean, George Floyd was in his 40s. So meaning that there is no age limit, there is no aging out of being black. You are this until you die, right? So that was just that's still tough for me to process.
That's a good point. Let me ask you guys this. Obviously, we know the history, right? We know that this has been going on for hundreds of years, but to see it in modern day, does it make you afraid? Because, okay, by show of hands, does everybody in here have friends of different races, ethnicities? So there's a part of us that feels like, the majority of us, like, not that racism doesn't exist, but we felt like there was progression. Do you still feel like we have progression? And are you more afraid now when it comes to public interaction and interaction possibly with law enforcement?
Yes, I'm very afraid as a black woman. I've noticed that black women, I've heard this quote that said black women are like the most unprotected in America. And so just the thought of a police pulling me over by myself just terrifies me. And luckily that hasn't happened yet, but it still terrifies me to this day. And I lost my train of thought.
No, it's fine. Let me ask you, what makes you so afraid outside of just this video? Your feelings of when a police officer pulls me over, what are you afraid could possibly happen?
I'm afraid that I could die, especially from Sandra Bland's story, that story alone, and how the officers who were responsible for her murder aren't in jail and they're just walking around free. That terrifies me, looking at her mugshot after they arrested her and how like broken she looked. It's just unreal, and it's just disappointing to see how like we've progressed somewhat, but not enough to where I can say, oh yeah, I feel safe if a police officer pulls me over, and I feel like I'm gonna lose my life.
I feel like we have progressed, but nowhere near enough. And I feel like we thought that we progressed more than we actually have, because obviously you don't want, racism and white supremacy and all that to be real. So if it's not brought to your attention, like to your face, then you're not gonna really realize how bad it's gotten. And in terms of interactions with the police, it's pretty terrifying, knowing that I could have my life taken and there may or may not be justice that's served. Like last year, there's a situation that happened with my brother. I don't know if you want me telling the story, but he got pulled over actually by a cop, but he didn't even realize that he was getting pulled over. And before he knew it, there were like 7 or 8 or 9 cop cars that were yelling at him to get to pull over. And so they pulled him off into an empty parking lot, and there was nobody there. There were no witnesses. So he could have been killed, and nobody would have been able to record it or do anything about it. And when that happened, they were extremely rough with him, and it was over some minor infraction. They wrestled him to the ground, put him in handcuffs. They don't have remorse. I feel like it's like this feeling of power that really gets to their heads, and this feeling of authority that they have. Because as a police officer, you may be like just another person, but you can do whatever you want and pretty much get away with it. And it needs to be checked.
Is there anybody else here that's either personally experienced or know somebody that has experienced a similar situation? Like I would just basically say unfair treatment?
Yeah, I had an unfair treatment about when I was 10 when I played lacrosse, and I went up there with my dad to practice on the tennis court, and there was a Caucasian lady that walked up to me and said, "Who are you? You don't look like you're from here." And it was because it was a privileged neighborhood, and I was brought from a good, sustaining family. And my dad is coming back, and he sees this Caucasian lady talking to me, telling me to leave, and he's just like, "No, we pay taxes here. And she was a teacher, so he said, "We pay your salary, we live here, we can use this park." And just the racism that comes off of that, like saying that I don't look like I belong here. Just hearing those words is like, wow, that's actually insane how you don't think a privileged man like me would be able to play lacrosse on a tennis court.
I want to take it a different angle for a second. We are in a church, although we are representing for Jack and Jill South Central Region. I guess I want to ask, because we are in such a place where we feel so powerless, how is this affecting your faith, or how is your faith either going forward or how are you using your faith in this time? How is that? How are you able to rely on your faith during this time? Let me say it that way.
Personally, there are some verses that I like to hide in my heart. I say hide in my heart, and that just like come back to me whenever I feel like everything's just going out of control. And lately, it's been Jeremiah 29:11, which says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope in the future." And so I just hold on to that, and knowing that none of this that is happening is an accident. God has a plan, and it's gonna be great. So I just like hold on to that, and that's how I'm also going back to the question about processing. I just know that there is a plan. None of this pain and anger that we're feeling and that we're going through is in vain.
I love that scripture. That's one of my favorite scriptures. I want to read another scripture to you guys, and I want you to tell me what this verse means to you in times like this. It is Isaiah 1:17, and it says, "Learn to do right, seek justice, defend the oppressed." You want me to say it again? Because y'all were looking at me like, what? Like I was speaking in tongues. Hold up now. The scripture says, learn to do right, seek justice, defend the oppressed. That's from Isaiah 1:17. What does that scripture mean to you during tough times like this?
Personally, I think like learning to do right is like a privilege, kind of. You know, we have this point of privilege. We are African Americans who have the ability to learn. So learn to do right. And so that's in your schools and that's in your community learning, and take advantage of the ability to learn. Seek justice. I feel like that's kind of self-explanatory. Just continue to seek others doing right. That's what that means to me. And then defend the oppressed, defend the people who aren't able to learn.
I feel like learn to do right is kind of telling people that you need to realize what's happening, because anybody can make the argument, oh, you know, I don't know what's happening, I know what's going on, but I feel like if you're willfully ignorant in times like these, then that in and of itself is a transgression against black people. You need to defend the oppressed. I feel like that means that even if you are not part of the group that is being oppressed right now, you need to step up and take action, which also kind of ties into intersectionality, because all these different groups of people that have all been marginalized and oppressed need to come together, because until there's justice for everyone, there's justice for nobody.
So you've been quiet back here. I'm going to make you talk really quick. He just holding on to that mic for dear life. Okay. Have you been watching the news? Have you been seeing protests? There's been looting. There have been, I heard a great statement that said, you know, the media is trying to paint these protesters into being violent. You guys are violent. You guys are out here burning buildings and stealing things. And, you know, we've even had some of our leadership call us a bunch of thugs, right? Have you seen this on social media and on the news?
I've seen it in...
How does that make you feel?
Well, to me, I feel like a riot is the voice of the unheard. So we've been doing peaceful protests for the past, I don't know how many years. And it's like we're not being heard because it keeps repeating itself.
How else are you guys processing?
I want to say how like terrifying it is that someone who is supposed to be leading our country is not even enabling what police officers are doing by murdering black people, but he's promoting it by when he said, when the looting starts, the shooting starts. Like, we are American citizens, and he treats us as if we're not.
And the fact that cops are the people who we're supposed to call for protection, yet they're the one killing us, is terrifying as well. Because who are we supposed to call, and who's supposed to protect us? And we're being labeled as thugs for looting. Well, it's not even all the black people looting. We're going to be honest about that one. But in the riots and peaceful protests, we tried peaceful protests and we tried kneeling at the football games. They didn't listen. They didn't want to have that conversation. So now that we're speaking a language that they know about their money, they're listening, they're paying attention now. But now it's violent. It's not peaceful anymore. So I think that's a problem as well.
I feel like it's kind of crazy that, you know, we can be peaceful all we want, and they don't even want to focus on that. But if, you know, like, as soon as people start getting angry, then, oh, we're thugs. But we're only thugs since we're black, because you see armed protesters being mad that they can't stay indoors for a couple months, or you see people that riot over sports games, even if they're just happy, like nothing even bad happened to them. But as soon as it's black people that are getting angry, then we're thugs. And it's like, even when we do protest peacefully, like at the Dallas protest, people would just be standing around and they get tear gassed and shot rubber bullets at. And it makes no sense that they want us to respond to their violence with peace when they respond to our peace with their violence.
I was just gonna say that it's sad and disappointing that people care more about merchandise from Target that can be replaced than they do a black man who can't get his life back. Like, his family will never have him back, yet the things that are being taken away from these stores can be replaced. Just like with the CNN sign that was destroyed, and they had a brand new one up the next day. And they were saying, this is the point that we're trying to make. Like, they can replace everything, but these people's lives can't be replaced.
So true. Kind of back to what Kayla said, who are we supposed to call for help? It's pretty much an everlasting loop at this point. You know, we were taught since we were 6 that if you were to get pulled over, sit there, comply, don't say anything. And it's just the fact that us minorities are pretty much the only ones who have to learn this. You know, you have videos of Caucasian people talking back to the police. You know, they're not over here complying, and they pretty much get off scot-free. They get arrested, they're in jail, they're back out in their life the next day. But even if we were to comply, we would be stripped of our freedom, we would be put into jail, we'd be arrested, and they would find something to try to keep us in there.
I think it just shows that, like, even if we look in history, civil rights movement, you look at even like Bacon's Rebellion, like all those things in like historically that we always take one step forward, but then we're kind of pushed back by society. And I think like what everyone's saying, it's almost as if the only way for us to solve this problem is to completely kind of the subconscious and everything that has gone down, like preconceived stereotypes, bias, implicit bias, prejudice, all those things are kind of infused together, which makes race a really difficult concept. And I feel like unless we're able to be aware of, unless people are aware of their racism, unless they're aware that it's wrong what they're doing, nothing is going to change. We can protest, but how much movement can we get by protesting? Because our society is built upon people that don't often listen to us. And so I think that it's just a really difficult topic and idea overall.
Reflecting on what Joshua and Sasha said, this is sad, especially as someone like me who goes to a predominantly white high school. I'm worried about, if I'm next. And with the rioting that's going on, I think our country is just, falling apart and it needs to, stop. As far as peaceful protests, it's in our Bill of Rights, and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was all about that, and he would not be smiling down on what's going on in this country.